You're walking through your neighborhood. Everything feels perfectly normal. People wave at you. Cars drive by. And then something changes. You might feel a little lightheaded. Maybe it's the silence. It could be the way the trees look. Older, younger, or just wrong. Maybe it's the sudden certainty that you've stepped through a thin place, finding yourself touching a stone or falling through the cracks of the centuries. Or perhaps you've simply walked through the wrong door, waking up in a version of your town that doesn't recognize you. You blink and a moment passes, or an hour, or a century. When you come back, well, if you come back, nothing is quite the same. Like the children returning from Narnia, you find that a lifetime of experience has passed in the blink of an eye. The world has moved on without you.
I'm Michelle.
And I'm Beth.
And this is Folkloric.
So, what's the weirdest deja vu you've ever had?
Oh, wow. I get it a lot, weirdly enough. I know I've been here before.
In this exact moment?
No. Well, yes, a couple weeks ago and last weekend doing the other podcast.
I think
and,
that's
that's different.
Yeah.
No,
That's called dedication to the craft, not repetition.
While I don't think I've ever had a time slip per se, I do know I have felt weird things around items and places that have made me feel like I've been there before.
Okay.
Like, I feel like I've been there before, but I don't feel like I'm in there now. Like,
do you feel like those things are an anchor or that they're displaced?
More like just a feeling of familiarity. Like, because, okay, for example, when I was younger, we used to go to this place called Allaire State Park in New Jersey. And it is an old Orm town that was abandoned. It prospered for a hot minute when the railroads went through there, but it was rediscovered and turned into a park. It was, rebuilt, not rebuilt, but can't think of the word.
Refurbished?
Not refurbished.
Reconstructed.
Yeah, kind of like, reconstructed. I can't. I'm
just trying to find you a different word.
I know, and maybe it's not a re-word, but hey, and it had like the old general store and the old mill houses, and they actually had the original mill, the water wheel, but they only had a quarter of it, and it was mirrored, so it looked like the whole thing because they had it inside They took the row houses and they turned them into a giant museum inside. And my mom...
Sounds like they restored it for display purposes.
That's the word, restored.
Yeah.
And I just remember growing up, going to this park all the time, but every time we went towards it was like a manor house, there were these windows that you could look into from the outside. That would always make me feel like I knew where I was going. Like, I always knew where I was going in this place. But there were the trains too, where there were times where we would go looking at the trains even if they weren't running, and because there was a little train that went around the whole village, and I think it's where my love of trains began, and I just knew them. Like, I could tell you, even when they were covered, I knew which ones were going to be which. There was just a familiarity. Now, there were times where we would go and I would expect the familiarity and welcome it, but then I'd get a bad feeling, like an ick, like the back of, hairs on the back of your neck. So something bad had happened there. But, and the only other place I ever had a bad feeling there was at the furnace. itself. So, because it was the chimney left of the furnace, and it looked like it was going to fall over at any minute anyway, which could have been why I had the icky feeling.
Well, what we're talking about today is time slip.
Yeah, so not really deja vu.
It's kind of like deja vu, because you may feel like you've been there before because you've been there before.
True.
Doesn't mean you have a perfect memory of that time.
That's true.
So there are a lot of things, like lost time, things like that. But it's basically a moment where a person experiences a sudden and unexplained shift in perceived time, like forward or backward or even outside linear sequence.
Yes.
And that could be something like for UFOs, like missing time in UFOs, or disassociation, or dream states, or fairy abductions. There are a lot of things. That's why I chose this.
It's a broad stroke, but there's a lot to it. Yeah.
And it is fairly it's fairly central to a theme. While there are a lot of smaller instances of people having deja vu or time slips or lost time, they're not often documented.
Yes.
They're a feeling you have, and a lot of times you just go away. There are a few documented moments.
Sorry, if you hear jingling or meows, our baby kitten is in here, and she's a terrorist. And her name is Poe. She's a black cat. She's a terrorist.
Very active right now. Our void cat is trying to be null and void.
Yes. Well, we're letting her in the studio for the first time while we're recording, since she was a tiny baby.
So most folklore treats time as porous and not fixed. And that's something that I like because I know, and you know as well, linear time is a human construct. It is something we designed. It is not found in nature. We've created linear time in order to be able to use it mathematically and use it for our own, like,
it helps to be able to mark time.
Sure. Seasonal changes, stuff like that are all marked through time, through linear time. I'm
teaching my students how to say the days of the week and the months of the year in English and Spanish, and they're very good at it. They're awesome.
So I'd like to talk about, probably for me, this is the one that sparked it for me, the time spark. It's kind of like what do they call it, the spark bird or something like that, where bird watchers are like, they saw this one bird that drove them to bird watching.
Huh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it's spark bird. It could be something like that. Anyway.
You find the better statements than like things I've never heard of before, so...
I listen to a lot of podcasts that are mostly about science.
Oh, so about podcasts, really quick.
Okay.
An aside. I am a huge fan of And That's Why We Drink with Em and Christine, and I am late to the game, but I've been back listening to, for the past few months, listening to their backlog. And I have to stop listening for a minute because, and where I am chronologically, if you know, And That's Why We Drink, Em does a supernatural story. Christine does a true crime. Christine likes to drink wine. Em drinks milkshakes, and they explain why they drink, what's causing them to drink. And usually it's society or something going on.
For me, it'd just be the milkshake.
Oh my God, milkshakes.
That's the reason.
I'm sorry, Christine, but I'm not a wine lady, and I do love my milkshake. So I would be, with Em on that one. But they are, so chronologically, they are a few weeks out before Christine's wedding. So if you're familiar with the show, you'll know where I am. And Em has recently done a few episodes, very deep ones, because she's not the deep diver like Christine is, but she has covered these dolls that have been haunted in some way, shape, or form. And I have been listening to it on my way to work and getting nauseous. And then the past 3 days, I have had a blistering headache. You know that. Right. It has not gone away.
It was 2 or 3 days of headache.
It was just nonstop. And I didn't even put two and two together. And then I listened to an episode, and they were saying that people were writing in and messaging them saying that this is, they were getting nauseous, they were getting headaches, crashing their cars, having to throw up on the side of the road. And I thought it was a bit much at first, but I really have been feeling shitty for the past couple of days. So I took a break. I didn't listen to them on Thursday, and I didn't listen to them yesterday. So I am feeling better today. I don't think it's them. I think I just need to walk away from the dolls, and I need to get a distance from where my mind doesn't think about those things anymore before I can get back into the podcast. But it's weird. I've never really had.
I wonder if there's a frequency that they're.
I don't know, but there is
the podcast.
Well, there is something in there. And again, this is early days for them. They're just now getting. It's pre-pandemic, and they're just now building up their shows and stuff like that. But when, and they had just hired Eva, who I believe is their engineer, who does all of the technical.
Sound, yeah.
There's a sound where every once in a while I have to mute the sound on my car because it sounds like something jingling, like something's loose. And then I turn it back on, and you can hear it again. And I think it's something in their background. I don't know.
Yeah, that's entirely possible. It could be a recurring frequency.
Yeah.
That is hitting everyone. That is a fairly common occurrence.
Especially because the last one...
Law enforcement uses frequency to disperse crowds.
That is true. It's just that the last doll episode, they had gone through the whole thing saying that the doll had been, cleansed and this, that, and the other thing. And the only thing left in the doll was like the good spirit that was staying there to keep it going, and had gotten out the demons. But the guy who currently has it wrote to them the next week and said, it's not done. It's not 100% cleansed. So people, because they were like, we don't understand why people are still having reactions if this doll's been cleansed. But it turns out there is still something going on. But yeah. Okay. And there's one oh my God, there's just so many freaking haunted dolls, people. Ugh, stop doing stuff with dolls.
Well, puppets are a fairly common thing.
It's just weird. The stories behind them are pretty weird to begin with. So yeah, I don't even want to delve into them. So we will not be doing haunted dolls unless I feel like murdering myself, So I don't want to do that.
Well, that's a pretty big leap there.
Well, yeah, because like murdering myself in the existential kind of, I hate myself kind of a thing, So if I feel hate towards myself, we'll do a bunch of episodes about dolls.
Or hate towards our listeners, apparently.
Yeah, I love y'all, so, whatever, I'm not doing dolls. And I love Em and Christine, so I feel bad about that, but I would have to take a break, unfortunately. Sorry, that was my tangent.
Okay, well, let's talk about Versailles.
Mm-hmm.
So... it's actually kind of funny. I was introduced to this as a child, and I think it was in a Reader's Digest. It could have been in...
Do you remember the Time Life books where they had the whole Supernatural series?
Yeah.
My ex-mother-in-law had them. Weirdly enough, the Christian Catholic, not Catholic, but the Christian conservative woman. And I remember reading it in that. So maybe that's where you read it?
What did she get the... No. I didn't read it in that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember. There were a few stories in there that have always stuck in my head. There's one on spontaneous combustion and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I get that because that is, that's been cited by Buffy and Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
Buffy and Giles were talking about it. And she asked him which free gift he got. It was the calendar or the phone.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know. I didn't know her then, so.
Yeah.
But I liked that book. I don't know. It was entertaining for me. I knew most of it was bullshit, but it was entertaining.
Okay, so let's talk about Charlotte Ann Moberly and Eleanor Jourdain. Now, they both claim to have slipped into 1789 Versailles.
Okay.
And this was in 1901.
Wow.
That they made that claim. So let me explain who these people are so that you know where we're going.
Okay.
Charlotte Ann Moberly, who was born in 1846, and Eleanor Jourdain, who was born in 1863, were not the kind of women that you would expect to report a paranormal event. They were highly respected, severe, and rigorously academic Edwardian women. They did not put up with bullshit or fantasies. Charlotte Moberly was the first principal of St. Hugh's College in Oxford. She was the daughter of a bishop and possessed a formidable reputation for leadership and intellect. Eleanor was a younger academic, an author of textbooks, and the vice principal and eventual successor to Moberly at St. Hugh's.
Okay.
Their high social standing and their academic credentials were crucial to the story because they had everything to lose.
Oh, yeah.
Their careers, their reputations, their social standing, all by publishing a ghost story. And yet, they were so convinced of their experience that they proceeded with that publishing. And their account is in the 1911 book, An Adventure. So let me tell you about the incident itself. And that happened in August 10th, 1901. And this is the account through Moberly Jourdain incident known as the Ghost of Petite Trayon. They were sightseeing. They were on a sightseeing trip to the Palace of Versailles. And you have to appreciate the fact that I know to say Versailles and not Versailles.
Because you heard it said.
I know. At some point I did, yeah, sure. Finding the main palace too crowded and stifling, they decided they were going to walk through the gardens. And they were going through the Petite Trayon, or I think that's the way it's called, Trianon, something like that. It was a smaller chateau that had been a private retreat for Marie Antoinette.
Okay.
So it was a typical day. It was a cloudy summer afternoon. And as they turned down a lane, like the atmosphere changed drastically.
Mm-hmm.
Both women later reported that they had an overwhelming sense of depression and dreariness. Moberly described the scenery as becoming flat and lifeless, like wood worked in tapestry. And they realized there were no effects of light and shade, and notably that no wind was stirring the trees. The air felt heavy and unnatural. And as they walked through that oppressive stillness, they encountered people who didn't fit their time, the 20th century. The first people they encountered were two men in long grayish-green coats with small three-cornered hats or tricorns. Moberly and Jourdain assumed that they were palace staff. And that makes sense because they were at a freaking palace.
Yeah.
But the men just stared at them with a strange blank intensity and wouldn't really respond to their gestures. The man at the kiosk, as they came to a garden, there was a kiosk where a man was sitting, and he was wearing a cloak and a large hat. And Moberly described his face as pockmarked and his expression as odious and, quote, evil, end quote. Both women felt a distinctive, instinctive repulsion and an urge to flee his presence. So, something to keep in mind. They also encountered a younger man with a flushed face who ran towards them, breathing and shouting instructions to them in a strange French dialect, urging them to go a different way. He wore buckles on his shoes and a cloak, and he looked panicked. Well, finally they crossed this rustic bridge, and they reached the lawn in front of the Petite Trayon. I'm not sure what it's called.
I'm not sure if it's Trianon. I'm not familiar with French pronunciation.
I should have looked that up. I didn't realize when I wrote this how many times I was going to have to say it. Sometimes when you're writing the things, you don't notice how many times you repeated something.
Yeah.
But there, Moberly saw a lady sitting on a stool sketching. She was wearing this pale summer dress with a shaded white hat, and she didn't look at them at all. She would just seem lost in thought. Well, Moberly felt the same wave of unnatural depression while looking at her. Now, Jourdain did not see this woman. So this is where their story kind of doesn't align.
Okay.
Because she doesn't say she saw this woman. Only Moberly does. And then suddenly, during this moment, a modern tour guide appeared and the quote-unquote spell, that moment broke. The scenery returned to normal and the wind was blowing again, and that oppressive heaviness that they felt was gone.
Wow.
And it wasn't until like a week later when writing letters home, Moberly had asked Jourdain, "Do you think Petite Tryon is haunted?" And Jourdain said instantly yes. And they compared notes, and they realized that those buildings and paths that they'd been walking didn't exist in the 1901 maps of Versailles. And after researching this for years, they concluded that they had walked in the memories of Marie Antoinette. The green coats, those belonged to the Swiss Guards of the 1780s.
Okay.
And the pockmarked man was identified as Comte de Ved. I'm not going to say this right.
That doesn't mean I can either.
I know how to write it. I don't know how to say it.
Comte de Vaudreuil? I mean,
Yeah, sure.
Drill?
That sounds good.
Yeah, sorry guys. French is not our forte.
He was a friend of the Queen's.
Okay.
So just so that you know who that is. The date of their trip, August 10th, was the exact anniversary of the sacking of Tours in 1792. That was the day that the French monarchy effectively was gone. It fell on that day. So the lady's theory is that the Queen's extreme stress on that specific date in 1792 caused her mind to flash back to her happier days at Tryon in 1789, and that Moberly and Jourdain had somehow stumbled into that memory echo. I think that's fascinating.
Fascinating, but also, wow, that's a lot to try to... So not only is it a time in history that is extremely emotionally turbulent for that one person and, well, everybody in the country, but these women in a different time slipped back into not only just that time, but Marie Antoinette's memory of a better time.
Okay, so the way I see it, and this is just the way I read this, and I read it several times trying to make these notes, and I really want to pick up a copy of their actual writings, their actual book, and see what it says.
Okay.
Because I'm getting truncated, things from the internet that I'm looking up. But for me, it seems like, because time is not linear.
Yeah.
Time is cyclical, and time is kind of a mess. It's kind of everywhere and it's nowhere. And time is mostly a quantum event, and it is the activity between two things, 2 points, 2 particles, and those movements set their time, their specific time. Now, for me, and I'm not trying to explain quantum physics because I cannot, as much as I love science, that is well beyond my ability.
Definitely.
But I think that sometimes you tie into that entanglement and you inadvertently, and I think a lot of time slips are probably this way, in which you find yourself drawn through by a very strong current. So it's like if you're swimming in an ocean and everybody's in that ocean, but you're the one that got swept out. You got tangled up in this event that you could not get out of. And the reason why it snaps back is likely because that event is over, not because... So her memory, Marie Antoinette's memory, could have been over at that point. That was the end of her reminiscing.
Okay.
In that moment. And therefore, they were pulled out of that current.
Yes.
And nature wants to correct itself.
Well, yes.
So they were snapped back into their time. You can't always do it, but I think that this was enough of a tertiary pull through time that they were able to snap back. And the reason why, I don't know, I'm guessing here.
Oh, I know.
The reason why the background is wooden is because she wasn't remembering the breeze. She was remembering the people she met at the time.
Yes.
So the breeze wasn't there. It's in effect kind of like being in Star Trek's hologram.
Okay.
On the holodeck, and just not programming in the background at all.
Okay.
Or stopping the background.
It's just for me, it's the whole, okay, so I have a couple stories about time slips, and it's going back in time and seeing the world in a different, at a different time period. But they didn't just do that. They went back into a different time within a memory.
Well, no, that's the thing. It's her memory. It's Marie Antoinette's memory, but memory is tied to time. So she's remembering a time. She's not just pulling data. She's remembering a specific point.
Remembering a specific point.
So they got pulled to that specific point and relived what she was remembering.
Okay.
That's how I interpret their...
It's very confusing for me. I also understand what the clues that they were picking up, because again, I am no expert by any means on what these women have experienced, but it unfortunately in the back of my head, and usually I'm the one who's not the skeptic, and I'm not saying I'm being skeptical, because I'm not being skeptical, but what I am being is the whole thing of everybody who's had past life regression has been not Marie Antoinette, has always been Cleopatra.
Someone famous. Or,
yes, so
it's never a slave.
Couldn't have just been, I mean, there was a lot of upheaval going on in France. It could have been anybody's memory. They didn't, I know they're saying it was Marie Antoinette sitting there.
I think the reason why they did come to that conclusion.
Is it because the man? Because
of the people that they met
that
tied to her recounting at some point in written manuscript.
I mean, that makes sense. It's just, my thing is it's always somebody famous.
I mean, and that's true, but they were at Versailles.
They were at Versailles.
So it wasn't a huge leap.
No.
They didn't move in space, but in time.
Yes.
So, not Doctor Who.
No.
Just Doctor.
My two stories are not.
Or just Who.
About space, just time.
Yes. I think space and time does happen. I think those slips do happen because time and space have a connection. But I also, because much like electricity, you have voltage and amperage, you have time and you have space.
Yes.
And those two things coexist. They have different functions. But anyway.
Well, and if you can also say the space with which these slips are happening, so you can use time and space because it is within these certain parameters, these locations. At least with my stories, they are their location, my nonfiction, because I have a couple of fiction ones, but yes.
Let's hear one of yours.
Okay.
Unless you have more to add on this.
You mentioned time being cyclical, and I have asked, and I know, and you know exactly where I'm going with this, probably. I ask people this all the time because I want to know if I'm crazy. How do you see the calendar in your head? And I don't, or I get in a week, or they picture an actual calendar. I picture a circle is for the calendar in a year. January is kind of, if you're looking at the circle, it's kind of in your southwest corner of a circle. A circle had corners, yes. Southwest, and it goes up from there. So we're going counterclockwise. The top of it being April and May, kind of scoot on either side of 12 if it was a clock. And I get a lot of people, well, you put spring on top or you put April on top because your birthday's in April, but no, it's not the number one. It's up there, but it's not. And then I picture the seasons as part of it, the 3-month chunks of seasons. And the reason why this became even a thing in my head that it was not normal, per se, quote unquote normal, is I was talking to Beth and we were talking about Christmas. And I said something and I shook my hand down in the December area of my circle. And I said, well, we'll deal with that.
This was several years ago.
Yeah, this was several years ago. And I said, well, we can deal with that in December. Because we were talking about like Christmas presents or something like that. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, but we'll worry about that then. And you're like, what the hell are you doing with your hand? I'm like, I'm pointing to December. And you're like, what? I'm like, well, when I'm looking at my calendar, that's where December, it would be the opposite for you. And I realized not everybody sees it in this circle, but we've also had the conversation, which is totally off topic, that you don't see pictures, but I see pictures.
Yeah, I don't see photographs in my head. I don't have
like I can.
Like if you describe an apple, I see the description of an apple. I don't see an apple.
Okay, yes, and I can picture an apple
I'm
with the green and
describing an
red
apple to myself, but I'm not seeing the apple.
Yeah, see, and I can literally see the details of the apple in my head.
That could be
The only thing I have a problem with is people's faces. Even if I know...
Oh, no, I'm horrible.
I know my children, and I know you like the back of my hand, but when I close my eyes and picture you in my head, your faces are kind of blurred. I don't know why it is like that.
No, I have terrible face recognition. Even... Like, I'm afraid sometimes if we're in a crowd, I'll lose you. And it's not because I don't know what you look like. It's just because I cannot picture it.
Well, it's a good thing I keep my hair weird.
I know. It's also good that we're holding hands so I don't get lost.
So you don't get lost. Okay, so...
Because I will cry and find a cop.
Oh, well, that's good. You were taught right.
I know. My mom was good. Okay,
so back to our weird time slips. Okay, that was a weird little tangent I had to go on. Okay, so I have the Kersey time slip. Are you familiar?
I am not.
Okay, so in October of 1957, 3 15-year-old Royal Navy cadets, their names were William Lang, Ray Baker, and Michael Crowley. And they were on a... Yeah, I know. I saw Crowley. I was like, well, I got to do this one.
Name. This is going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one, guys.
Is it with an E?
It is with an E.
Oh, that's a good one.
Crowley. It's probably Crowley. No, I mean, maybe. I don't know.
Is it going to be another Richard Donger?
No. It's Donger.
Instead of
Danger.
Dick Danger?
Yeah. Dick Danger. Been watching too much Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
Really have.
Okay, so they were on this map reading orienteering exercise.
Yeah, orienteering.
So, okay, so they were, I guess, trying to get their basically orientation, like figure out where they are, and,
trying to figure out their directions where they are and in relation to where they're going.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm not a military person, so
we all have to do it in the military at some point.
Okay.
Well, anyone that goes on missions in the field would need to know these things.
Okay. So I did not, because again, non-military.
Yeah.
And so they were doing this in a rural area of Suffolk. They were going to, the waypoint was this village of Kersey, which is about 20 miles west of Ipswich. And
I know it well.
a lot of my stories were like, I had to like say, okay, I can't do these because they were like 90% British. And I was like, I can't, everyone is like England.
It makes sense. And we'll get to that after you're done with your story.
That's where the history lives.
We'll explain. I'm going to try to explain that in my own story.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Go ahead.
So as they approached the village of Kersey, they saw like there's a church with a tower, and they can hear the bells ringing. There was smoke coming from the chimneys. Basically, your quintessential little English village in 1957.
Sure.
And it was autumn, obviously, because October. But as they got closer to the village and they entered it, the church bells stopped ringing, and they couldn't hear the birds anymore. That
would freak me the fuck out right there.
Yeah.
We're like, something's wrong. I'm leaving.
So the power lines and the church tower, they didn't see them anymore. They were gone. And they realized there were no cars or people, and that the trees that had once, like before, they were, reds and oranges and browns because it was autumn.
Yeah.
They were green and lush from spring. That's not what, and it was very silent. And the only sounds that they could hear was the stream, the little creek that was nearby. You could hear the trickling sound of that. There was no movement except for some white ducks that they saw in a pond. But even they said, the one boy said it made him think of decoys. Like they didn't seem real.
They seemed wooden.
Yes.
Yes.
So the boys were, they're walking through this village, and as 15-year-old boys would do, they go and start looking through windows. And there was a shop window, and they looked through it, and they immediately said, "Oh, this must be a butcher shop," because while it didn't look like a butcher shop from the 50s, it had a big couple. I think it's like 3 ox carcasses.
Okay.
But they were turning green. So not Michael Crowley, but William Lang said, and I quote, "There were no tables or counters, just 2 or 3 whole oxen carcasses, which had been skinned and in places were quite green with age. There was a green painted door and windows with smallish glass panes, one at the front and one at the side, rather dirty looking. I remember that as we 3 looked through that window in disbelief at the green and moldy carcasses, the general feeling certainly was one of disbelief and unreality. Who would believe that in 1957 that the health authorities would allow such conditions?" So that was their thought, was not that we are out of place, but who the hell allowed this green meat to be, here? But it just didn't look like a normal
I'm not
butcher.
eating at this
I ain't
establishment.
eating here. So they started feeling really uneasy, and later they would claim that they could feel like an icy stare from like invisible watchers, is what they were saying.
Okay.
Like that was following their every move. So they realized that in their minds, time was passing. And they were afraid they were going to get in trouble from their superiors, because you can't really use the excuse of time slip as why you were late getting back to your post or whatever.
Right.
So they decided to go back. And as they left Kersey, the power lines, they started to reappear again. And the bells began to ring out again, and autumn reappeared, and the smoke reappeared, and everything seemed to go back to normal. So it became known as the Kersey time slip. And the thing is, the most bizarre part is that while Lang and Crowley remember it distinctly, Baker did not. Baker does not. He maintains that nothing out of the ordinary happened while they were there, like when they went to Kersey. He insists that he doesn't remember any of what the 2 boys were saying.
Okay.
So that kind of makes it weird. So nothing really much more was thought about this until about 1990. Now at this point, Lang and Crowley are living in Australia, and a parapsychologist named Andrew Mackenzie, he had been studying the phenomenon of time slips and came across the Kersey time slip, and he interviewed the 2 gentlemen, and he delved deeper into their accounts, and then he started to cross-reference their descriptions of what they had seen in Kersey.
Right.
So the butcher shop that they described with the skinned carcasses, it's exactly how it would have been in the Middle Ages. They would have had the meat on the counters.
Sure.
They would not have had the same counter, like what they would picture in a 1957 butcher shop.
Right. The butcher setup would not have been the same.
No,
at all.
definitely
Yes.
not. So the buildings that that they described, also the building that the butcher shop that they had seen was in actually dates back to the Middle Ages of 1350. So that building itself was very old. The best documented evidence showed that it operated as a butcher shop at least until 1790.
Okay.
So it had been a butcher shop.
Right.
So by the time the cadets experienced what they did, it was a private home. And even when Mackenzie went to go investigate, it was still a private home in the 90s. So it was no longer a butcher shop. So these boys would not have known that it was a butcher shop.
Right.
Because it was no longer from the 1700s. So
they wouldn't have had any knowledge of that.
None whatsoever. So in addition to the what they described, about like the description of the church and the tower, that kind of was like, well, how can a tower disappear? And he's trying to really narrow the window of when these boys would have been there. Because obviously 1350 goes really far back.
Sure.
So the Church of St. Mary's Tower, well, it's the construction of St. Mary's Tower. It began in the mid-14th century. It stopped during the Black Death. So
as you do.
As you do. And so the church did not have its tower for several decades.
Okay.
So when the work started again, it wasn't completed until 1481. So that gives you a little bit more of a narrower window of the time period
that they would have slipped into.
Exactly. And they would not have known that unless they were really up on their history of Kersey. But how many 15-year-old boys are really invested in the history of an old medieval town?
Especially when they're just trying to get through it to their destination.
Yes. So why didn't they see people? And why did they feel like people were watching them, though? So the Black Death also has another aspect of it, being that it was the Black Death. Most of the people of Kersey had a majority of the population, obviously, had died. I mean, it was a medieval town, and so they're saying that there was a huge population decline, and the boys were saying that it was quote unquote deathly quiet. That would really kind of add to the whole feeling of unease. If there were people there, they would be afraid. They're not going to want to come out because if they survived the death, they're not going to want to come up against and talk to strangers that could be bringing the death, say that it's already passed. The wave has passed through. They don't want to have to go through that again and then possibly lose their lives.
Also explains the oxen.
Yes.
Being spoiled.
Yes, because no one was there to eat it. It was not there to. So Ray Baker continues throughout, the whole entire time that they're investigating to say he doesn't remember any of it at all. Even, going into adulthood, he just did not remember it. So really, there's no explanation as to what actually happened to these young men. But I mean, they were 15, and so could it have been a mass hallucination? Could it have been some creative storytelling? Or hey, let's say they actually went back and looked at the history of the town. It's still odd that specifically the things that they were able to focus on were things that were very true to that time period, to the early to mid 1400s that they would have slipped back into.
I think that's so interesting because there's so many ties to what the story that I just told.
Mm-hmm.
In that many things were wooden or seemed odd and distinctly disjointed and not more like it's a background scenery painting rather than being real. And also in the fact that there's some aspect that defies the experience, babbling of the brook. Now, you know as well as I do that running water is a great way to ground out magic.
Yes.
And that it applies to fairy magic as well.
Mm-hmm.
There are many aspects of this that just tie in to the Versailles story in such a way that it's hard to miss the experience for what it is, that these people did actually. And I think for me, it's not that I can't be skeptical about something that doesn't just apply magically, but also applies. So not just supernatural, but also within the natural world, just in a way we didn't expect or didn't know about.
Mm-hmm.
That perhaps time, being wibbly wobbly
mm-hmm.
and not linear, is much easier to tap into at its peaks
mm-hmm.
than it is, or its valleys, maybe synchronizing in those aspects. Because let's say you take tinfoil and you were to crinkle it all up.
Yes.
And then crush it into a ball. Well, all those crinkles will end up touching each other in different points.
Yes.
That could very well be what's happening here.
Mm-hmm.
They touched a point in which those two time periods had meshed together. And that's why you're getting this strange effect. But there's that grounding core of this babbling brook that isn't affected by that.
Mm-hmm.
The babbling brook is there.
Yes.
And it grounds out that effect.
So, and this was once again, a turbulent time. While the moment that they walked into was peaceful, for them, even though it was odd and unsettling, it was calm because nothing was attacking them, nothing was aggressive. They just had some really weird feelings and people, thinking that people were looking at them and giving them the stink eye.
From their perspective, it was very peaceful, but these people died horribly.
Exactly. That's the thing. The Black Death was horrifying. But now there was another story I did not really delve into because I couldn't find too much information about it. But there was one about, because you mentioned fairies and the brook thing. So there was a boy and a girl, and they were walking through their village, and all their friends had gone to play baseball. And they walked through the woods and they crossed a little stream and they ended up in this peaceful little, kind of like a glade that had flowers that they didn't recognize and a lot of odd feelings about it, but not in a bad way, but it was very quiet. I noticed that too. Everything gets a very quiet.
Right.
But they could see, once they walked to the other side of the field, they could see their friends playing baseball on the other side. But it sounded like very tinny, like they were playing, on the other side of a wall. They could see them perfectly. And then they walked back and went back across the field, or went across the stream again, and it was gone.
I think that is like kind of the thing, is that nature keeps trying to correct itself.
Mm-hmm.
And as being the effect of that need to correct itself, you're not experiencing everything like you normally would.
Yeah.
So your senses are telling you different things.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of coinciding with what you have, your story, is the idea of Celtic fairy time. Ireland or Scotland, these places kind of hold power.
They do.
Every place, I think, holds power to varying degrees, but I think there are points, like in the Appalachians.
I was going to say, see our episode on Appalachia.
But even within the Appalachians, there are points of power. So if you dig into the old folklore of Wales, especially the Vale of Neath, which is this incredibly beautiful deep valley with waterfalls and heavy mists, you'll find that the story was not treated as a fairy tale, but as a legal matter. I know. So it's not about knights or dragons. This is about two farmhands, Rhys and Llewellyn. The year isn't certain because it's recorded as a, quote, true event by 19th century folklorists like Wirt Sykes. The two men were walking home from work late one night. They'd been hauling lime all day and they were tired. And they walked through a wooded area known for being a little thin between the worlds. That comes up a lot.
Yes.
People feel the thinness in the air, the thinness between worlds. And as they're walking, Rhys suddenly stops and he grabs Llewellyn's arm and says, "Shh, you smell that?" No,
I was waiting for you to say that.
I can't help myself. He said, "Shh, do you hear that?" And Llewellyn listens, but he hears nothing, just wind in the trees. But Rhys is transfixed. He says he hears music, the sweetest, most frantic fiddle tune he's ever heard. And he says, I just need to see who's playing. I'll catch up with you. And before Llewellyn can stop him, Rhys dances off the path and vanishes into the darkness.
Sorry, the image in my head is this guy doing this jig as he goes off into the woods.
And it's entirely possible that's actually what happened. Llewellyn waits, and he waits some more, and he shouts for Rhys, but then he gets nothing back. So eventually, Llewellyn, who is terrified and he's tired, goes home, and he's assuming that Reese maybe ran off to a pub or played a prank. But Reese doesn't come back the next morning or the next. So days turn into weeks. And here's where the story gets grounded in grim reality. Llewellyn is accused of Reese's murder. The village logic is sound. 2 men went out, 1 came back. This is Thunderdome, I guess. They assumed that Llewellyn killed Reese for his wages and dumped the body into a ravine, which would
not to
would
say that's
seem
not
likely,
true.
more likely than time slip
Yes.
to them. Llewellyn is arrested and thrown into prison. Okay, so he spends a full year locked up.
Wow.
And during that time, he swore up and down that Reese just vanished into a song that he couldn't hear. Nobody believed him, and it looks like Llewellyn is going to hang.
Damn.
Because that's what happens when you murder someone. But there's an old man in the village, and let's call him the local wise man or the cunning man, who knows the old lore, and he suggests one last chance to prove Llewellyn's innocence. He says, take Llewellyn back to the exact spot where he lost Reese, but do it exactly 1 year and 1 day after the disappearance.
Okay.
So, and this is apparently taking a lot on faith from the wise man.
Yeah.
A group of witnesses, the jailer and the wise man, took Llewellyn back to the woods.
What year is this again?
Unknown.
Oh.
It doesn't have a year associated. When they get to the spot, Llewellyn says, I hear it. I hear the music again. And the witnesses, they hear nothing. They think he's crazy.
But he didn't hear it the first time. Okay.
I don't know. But the wise man tells Llewellyn to place his foot on the edge of a darker ring of grass, a fairy ring, and tells the others to form a chain, holding on to Llewellyn's coat, and then touch their foot to his. It's like grounding like a live wire.
Yeah.
And as soon as they touch him, the glamour breaks. Suddenly, the whole group can hear the music, and they can see it. Inside the ring, swirling in a frantic, endless circle, are little figures. And there in the middle of them is Reese. He's sweaty, pale, and he's dancing like a madman, laughing and having the time of his life. Llewellyn lunges forward, careful not to step fully inside, and grabs Reese by the collar and hauls him violently out of the circle, where the music stops suddenly and the fairies vanish. Reese looks around, blinking, totally confused, and he looks at Llewellyn and says, What are you doing? Let me finish the dance. I've only been in there for 5 minutes. And Llewellyn stares at him and says, Reese, you've been gone a whole year. Reese laughs and he doesn't believe it, but then he looks at his own body. As soon as Reese fully steps back into our world, the mortal time, the year catches up with him all at once.
Well, yeah.
His skin grays and he collapses. Some versions of the story say he crumbled into dust right there. Others, the more realistic, say that he became bedridden or fell into a deep depression and died shortly after, never recovering his senses. He simply couldn't survive the weight of stolen time. And remember, this is Celtic folklore.
Yes.
And not a historical documented fact, which is why I didn't answer you on.
I know, and I, you said that, but my brain all of a sudden was like, okay, so what year was this again?
And why he heard the music but didn't hear it the first time. It's folklore, and things don't always. This is the grapevine game or telephone, in which they never get recounted exactly.
Yes.
And I've just contributed to that.
Yes.
So anyone who hears this will likely recount it their own way, embellish it in some way, or not know certain facts, but factual as per the story itself. So Celtic folklore, the other world, isn't just a place that you visit. It's a different current of time entirely. And that is what the Fae live in.
Mm-hmm.
They live in outside, the outside of our time, in their own time.
The elves have gone too far.
And sometimes it's fast, and sometimes it's slow. And you never really know where you're going to be, because I think they kind of embody that chaos.
Oh, yeah, because they are the Fae.
And you never really step into that same river twice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I thought it was interesting that your boys had found themselves near a babbling brook, but everything's so strange and out of time. And it's almost as if they inadvertently found a portal into the Fae.
I mean, and it's not to say that they didn't, because honestly, they're trekking across country. 1957, they were not in a vehicle. They were walking through fields because they were, following map. They were, orienting themselves for the area of Suffolk. So they possibly, could have trampled through, or that thinness that, we do feel that thinness in the worlds. Not to make like a really obscure popular culture reference here, because it really isn't obscure and it is popular culture, which is kind of, oxymoron in itself. But it makes me think of the Dark Tower series by Stephen King.
Oh, yeah.
When, the tower's collapsing. So the levels of the tower, the layers are like intermeshing. So that's why you're going to get the futuristic along with the, the past.
Susan.
You're going to get all those weird, well, in the drawing of 3, when he can open the doors and he can pull them in. But like then you'll see, I think it's in the Wolves of Kala, where they're in that village. And it's the priest from Salem's Lot.
Right.
And it's also, they have these little bombs, and they're sneeches, and it's the HP, and it's got like a bunch of numbers after it, and it's totally a Harry Potter reference, but, oh gosh, he must be hating that right now.
Oh, I know.
Oh my God, he must be hating that. So
he does speak out against her quite a bit.
Yeah, and again, I love to digress because it's what I do, because that's the way my brain works. You said the elaborate game of telephone, because it does go kind of, the telling and the retelling and the retelling. So the song, I Heard It From a Friend. I heard it from a friend.
Sure.
Okay. So if you really listen to that song, it's basically, I heard it from a friend. I heard it from a friend. Okay. It's telephone.
Yeah.
So a friend of mine, we used to hear that song almost daily, and it became like a joke. So we were like, I heard it from a friend who, purple monkey butt cheese, your girlfriend's a whore. No, it was like, pass the salt, please, your girlfriend's a whore. And then it becomes, purple monkey butt cheese or something stupid like that. Yeah, so it was, I heard it from a friend, pass the salt, your girlfriend's a whore. Then eventually it goes around and it's purple monkey butt cheese.
There you go.
That's so, that just became an ongoing joke between us. But yeah, that's what that made me think of, was as soon as you say telephone, the game of telephone, I can't not say purple monkey butt cheese. So I had to it was in my head and I had to get it out.
Well, I think you did it.
I did. And you all suffered for it.
But I think that it makes sense that when you tell stories, you're opening pathways in other people's memory. And now you've contributed to another timeline.
Well, yeah.
And I think in many ways, the stories you tell are spells.
Mm.
And I think that they have power.
Oh my gosh. So M's been poisoning me all this time.
Probably.
It had nothing to do with... No.
That's possible.
She doesn't even know me.
She didn't mean
sorry,
to.
not she. I'm sorry.
They.
They.
Sorry.
Sorry, M.
Yep, they. All you can do is correct.
Mm-hmm. And try to be a better person.
That's how you do it. So I have a story, but...
I have a story too.
You want me to tell mine?
Well, you just told one.
I don't know how many more you have left.
I've only got one.
I've got 6 more.
Oh, shit.
No, I've got... Let me look at my book. I've got 3 more.
Okay, I've
got 3 more.
1 more realistic and 3 short fictional.
Okay. Well, let's go with yours.
Okay. So, Bold Street in Liverpool. Any flashes of recognition?
I recognize Liverpool.
Oh, I mean, who doesn't?
And Bold. and street. I
Just
recognize each individual name for what they are, but not the entire thing together.
I live with this daily, guys.
You asked me a question.
So apparently there's been a lot of things like this happening on this particular street in Liverpool. A lot of people have reported incidences of timed things just not looking like they should. This specific story is about an off-duty cop from Melling, whose name is Frank, no last name given. And him and his wife, Carol, were visiting Liverpool, and they went to Bold Street and the areas around, like little side roads, to go on this little shopping spree. And this was 96. So this is recent.
Fairly recent. Within our lifetime.
Yes. So it's, yeah. So they are, at the central station. Again, I don't know Liverpool nor these roads, so I'm just going to name them. And if you know the locations, cheer. If you don't, then I'm sorry. Google Maps. So there's at Central Station, the couple splits up. Carol goes to a bookstore called Dylan's, and Frank goes off to a record store. In one of the articles that I was doing my research with, it specifically said that Carol was going to buy the book Train Spotting. I'm not sure if that's a relevance to any of this. I've never seen the movie, and I've never read the book. I know it has something to do with, I think
heroin addiction.
I was going to say, I think I know it has to do with heroin addiction,
trains.
Which is why I've avoided it because of my ex and his issues. So,
although we probably do need to do it on our other podcast,
probably
Cozy Quilt Cinema. It is not a cozy film by any means, but I think it's an important one.
I'm going to have a hard time. So I have to be mentally prepared for that one.
Absolutely.
So 20 minutes, they decide to meet back up, and, he's going to meet his wife 20 minutes later at the Dylans. And so he's walking up this incline near the Lyceum, and it's like kind of what leads into the Bold Street. And it's not called the Bold Street, it's Bold Street. And his intention is to meet with his wife at the bookshop. And he notices that he somehow enters a quote unquote quiet spot. It's a dead spot of quietness. That's what he says. A dead spot of quietness.
Similarities there.
Mm-hmm. So as he's there, he's like kind of almost disoriented because it just got super quiet. A small box van that kind of did not look right. It looked like it was out of the 1950s. It comes speeding past him, and the guy's beeping his horn because he was, in the way. And the name on the side of the box van was Kaplan's.
Okay.
Caplans.
Sounds like it's going to be important.
It might be. So Frank, so he crosses the road, and he saw that the Dylans bookshop was not there. That in its place was a store called Cripps, Cripps, not the gang. Just saying.
Sure.
So he's like, what the hell? That there was a bookstore here. I don't understand what's happening. So he's looking around, and he realized, first he looks in the store. Like, he looks through the window, and it's not a bookstore. There's women's purses and shoes and all sorts of stuff there. So he, he's looking around, and he's noticing that the people that he's seeing are not dressed like 1996. They are dressed in scarves with berets and pillbox hats. The women were wearing gloves. The men were wearing trilbies. I mean, the whole very, very
out of time fashion.
Very out of time.
For him, out of time.
Exactly.
For them, just fine.
Yeah. Because while, yes, the old time fashions do come back around, not a whole town or street worth of them.
No.
Yeah.
Parachute pants will never come back in mass.
Oh my God. If you see somebody with parachute pants on, run.
No, I mean like a group of them.
Yeah, you're not going to see that.
You'll see one or two occasionally.
But I mean, if you see them in a big group, run. So he's like, what? I mean, he's very confused about this. And as he's looking around, he sees this girl, and she looks to be about 20 years old. Now, she's not dressed like them. She's wearing a lime green top, and she's wearing, the hip hugger hipster jeans that were back and really popular in the 90s.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, those low red.
I like those. They're very cute.
And she's carrying a purse that's with the name Miss Selfridge's on it, which is a modern company, not a company that existed back then.
Right.
So he goes and he's following her. She's going into Crips, and he goes to follow her. And, she smiles. She sees him, and she smiles at him as she walks past and goes right into the store, and he goes to follow her. And as soon as they get in, the whole interior of the shop changes to the bookstore.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so he grabs her by the arm, and he's like, did this just happen to you too? And she kind of like giggles and is like, yeah, I was going to go look at those shoes, those handbags. So yeah. And then she leaves, and he looks outside, and everything is back to normal. So he finds his wife, and he tells her what had happened. And she's like, well, I didn't notice anything that had happened. And it's, he thinks he's going crazy. And he's like, I know I didn't hallucinate any of this.
Right.
Why would I, this is so specific. I'm under the impression that they'd never been to Liverpool before. So
this is a one-time event.
Yeah,
they went shopping there.
Well, they went, they were on vacation, and they were going shopping on the Bold Street. So, that's like a thing, I guess. Again, there's a lot of stories about Bold Street and a lot of similar things happening to people on Bold Street. So,
it's a tourist spot.
It is a tourist spot, but a lot of weird stuff has happened. So the thing is, if you look back in the 1950s and 60s, there used to be a store called Crips, and it is in the exact location that Dillon's is currently in. It's not a Dillon's anymore. It is now, I think, a Waterstones.
Okay.
And there used to be a firm that was called Kaplan's, and it did exist during that time.
Wow.
And there's no further information beyond what the story itself. But again, it's the way in my research, a lot of people have similar experiences of walking and seeing things that don't look right, out of place on this street. That maybe not to that extent of completely being immersed, but unlike the past two stories, well, no, that's not true. Unlike the history stories, not to mention, the folktale story that you just told, nothing really interacted with the ladies in Versailles. The gentleman came at them, but really was that he was talking, but he wasn't really, was he talking at them?
Could have been talking to Marie Antoinette.
Exactly, because they were in her memory. And then the boys in Kersey, they did not interact with anybody.
Right.
So the fact that the guy in the boxcar interacted, I mean, he beeped his horn, but that's still an interaction that he did not have, that the other stories did not have, which I found to be interesting.
Yeah, I think that it again, going back with the other things, is it seems like they got swept into something by another thing. Like just a tidal, like, you have high tide and low tide. And I think when you have the high tide,
yes,
and you just happen to be in the right place, you get swept into that you have all these like nooks and crannies within the rocks. You get swept into one of those, and it's kind of a tidal pool. So you become part of this tidal pool until you're swept out of it again. And I think in a power dynamic that is probably what happened to Frank.
It seems,
and the girl.
Yeah, and the girl too. Well, the fact that they didn't even know each other, and they were both in this pocket of time. He
just realized what was happening, and she did not.
I think she might have, but I don't think she was really sussed by it. Because again, it seemed like she was just like, I was going to go look at those shoes. Like unbothered by the fact that people were obviously walking past her in the streets. And she did not look like, I mean, obviously, if that's what's weird to me, is that none of the articles mentioned the Frank noticing the people noticing the girl, because in the 1950s her clothes would have been completely inappropriate, and they would have seen, you know, those low rider jeans and those, you know, and the crop top and that bright lime green color. They would have probably seen that as offensive, and why is this girl out here in the streets dressed like this? This is, you know, you whore, you know. But harlot. Apparently whore is my word of the night.
I guess.
So I just find that that's interesting. I'd like to look, you know, like for me, my nosiness would be like, did something happen? I don't know the history of Liverpool. So did something specifically happen near the Lyceum where the walls of time would be thinner, that he walked through there and that's when it happened? So to me, it's like, usually to me, it's like a thing that happens. The boys, it was the Black Plague. With the ladies, it was Marie Antoinette dealing with her trauma, and they were in her memory. So is there something traumatic that's causing these thinness? Almost like when you look at ghosts and the different types of ghosts, and there's the ones that are the recordings.
Right.
So the recordings are usually, doesn't have to be a bad thing, because it could be a happy moment. It can just be a repetitive moment, and these things are recorded in time, and certain things will trigger them to happen. Like when I saw the man walking across the yard, this is the second time I've seen people walking across our yard to disappear. Different locations in our yard. One was in the back when I was at the house, and one of them was by the house when I was walking down. And this was years. I mean, I saw that the first one shortly after we moved here, and then I saw the other one just a few nights ago. So it's where now the first one was definite. They were doing construction up the hill, and the gentleman obviously wasn't there because it was very faint. You could see the trees. I knew what I was seeing. Right. This time it looked like a person walked across our yard. I couldn't see really because it was shadowy, but I could see the pants. I could see the hat. I could picture it in my head exactly what I was seeing walking across our yard toward our house. And then when they got by the tree near our bedroom, they didn't get to the house, but like the way we were walking down, they disappeared.
Interestingly, in the woods next to us, there's a brook that bisects that area.
Yes.
So
it's a little creek, not a brook. I mean, it's a brook. It's a creek. It's not a crook. Which is what I was.
In this area, it'd be called a crick.
A crick. So yeah, it's just again, my brain starts to like overanalyze these things because I when I don't have an answer for something, I try to look for the answer, and sometimes I'm pretty good at accepting. Like
that there is no answer?
Yes, except for my surgery when I couldn't find my socks.
Sure.
Because I really did not like the losing of time on that situation.
For me, it's about accepting the fact that time is so malleable, and that like having a live wire that is not properly shielded, that sometimes it touches itself and shorts out.
Okay.
And that maybe those moments are those little points are ones of trauma, or where that's eaten away the insulation, the quote unquote insulation of time. Is you have trauma or a huge event, a world event of some kind, like death, plague of some kind, emotional trauma, or even manipulation from powers outside yourself.
Yes.
That perhaps these things are causing those shorts in time.
Oh my God, future people are just going to walk around modern streets with a bunch of people hiding in their houses watching, sing along with Disney and Hamilton.
Well, here's the funny thing is the reason why we never see people from the future is probably the same reason why these people are never noticed by the people of the past. So it is entirely possible we are someone else's memory and that time period of their memory.
I mean, possibly, yeah, you're right. That would make sense of why they are not noticed But yet the boys were noticed. People were looking at them. They felt like people were watching them.
They felt like people were watching them. It doesn't mean they were being watched by humans. Remember, they're in the wooded areas.
Yes,
it is possible
true.
They went right through a circle and didn't realize it.
That is true. And the Fae are tricksy little clever peoples. And
and sometimes they just want to show you portent just to see what you'll do.
I always respect the Fae.
So let's go to Japan. And please excuse me for my pronunciation. I will try my best. And I will do it with respect. But imagine traveling near the speed of light, where a few days for you is centuries for everyone else. Well, Japan didn't need Einstein to figure this out. They had the legend of Urashima Taro from the 8th century. It's often called the Japanese Rip Van Winkle, but that really sells the story short, because Rip Van Winkle just fell asleep, whereas Urashima experienced genuine gravitational time dilation. So Urashima Taro, who is originally called Urashima Ko, is a young, handsome fisherman from the Tango Peninsula. So he spots a group of children tormenting a small turtle on the beach, and he saves the turtle, and he pays the kids to leave it alone and sets it free. A few days later, while fishing, a massive turtle approaches his boat, and it speaks. It tells him that the small turtle he saved was actually the daughter of the Dragon King Rijun, the god of the sea. To thank him, the turtle invites him to the palace of the dragon god. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. He climbs onto the turtle's back, and they dive deep, deeper than humans are meant to go. If you want to know how deep that is, that's where explodey things happen to billionaires. They arrive at a palace made of red and white coral, and the fish are the servants. He meets Otame, the princess. In older, more authentic versions of this story, the turtle he rode transforms into the princess herself, just so you know.
Okay.
I am obviously reading a retelling of a retelling.
Yes.
They fall in love and marry. And life in the palace is like a haze of perfection for him. There's no summer or winter, just eternal comfort, kind of like watching Splash. Taro stays for what feels like 3 days. To him, it's a long weekend or a brief vacation. So Taro remembers his elderly parents. He tells Otame that he must go back just to tell them he's safe and that he will return to her. She begs him not to go, and when he insists, she gives him a tama tebako, which is a jeweled box.
Okay.
And she says, if you want to come back to me, you must never open this box, which sounds like you should have just not given her the box. But I'm just saying. He rides the turtle back to his village, and he steps onto the beach. And it looks wrong. The trees are different. The coastline is shifted. He runs to his house, but it's overgrown with weeds, and he asks the villager, where is the Urashima family? The villager looks at him like he's crazy. Urashima, there's a legend about a man named Urashima who vanished at sea 300 years ago.
Holy crap.
He realizes that his parents are long gone, turned to dust, and his friends are now forgotten history, and that he himself is a ghost in his own timeline. Taro goes back to the beach, and he's lost his past and his future, and he can't find his way back to the palace. In his grief, he looks at the box, and he forgets the warning that he has been told by Otame. And he thinks maybe the box contains a map or a tool, so out of desperation, he opens it. And as he does, a puff of white smoke explodes out of the box and drifts away towards the sea. And Terrell suddenly finds his joints lock, and his hair turns white, and his skin wrinkles, and he collapses. The box didn't contain treasure. What it contained was his time.
Oh, no.
The 300 years he missed were trapped within the box, keeping him young. And when he opened it, time caught up with him all at once. He died of extremely old age on the beach instantly. Now, the version where he turns into an old man is like the standard modern mortality tale. However, in the Otigozishi, which is the medieval text version, the ending is different. When he opens the box and the smoke rises, and I like this one, I think, better.
Mm-hmm.
He transforms into a crane, which is the symbol of longevity. And the princess appears as a turtle, and they become gods of the coast. Now, this version is less don't disobey rules and more about the tragedy of attaining immortality. Because while you can live forever, you lose those that you love along the way.
That's true.
Physics enthusiasts often point out that this is an accidentally accurate Einstein's theory of general relativity. If the Dragon Palace were near a massive gravitational source, like a black hole, time would indeed move slower than here on Earth. And Urashima Taro is technically the world's first story about gravitational time dilation. And that the box is called Temebako, the jeweled hand box. In Japan, when something is beautiful but dangerous, it contains a chaotic surprise. It is often called a Temebako. So in honor of that story, it is tied to that.
Okay.
Kind of like our Pandora's box.
Yes.
Is.
His only hope is left inside.
So that is, for me, I like the version. I do like the version of the crane.
I do too. I like that better.
I would love that to be the case, but also kind of feel that in this retelling, that is the one that is the hopeful one, and not one of the reality of time travel, which is if you gain time, you have to lose it somewhere.
Yeah, and so, I mean, I do like the crane and the turtle as well, but there is that, if you cannot, it's that like losing everything. So, immortality, you lose everything. You gain, but you lose a lot. And you see that time and time again with all these different stories about immortality, vampires, or just, the Highlander. I mean, it's just, you're going to get that whole, there's a sadness of being immortal because you don't want to get too many attachments to the mortals because they're going to die. And Jack Harkness, I mean, when you
go with popular fiction.
Yeah, I mean, Torchwood, Jack was like the quintessential because you knew he loved people and you knew he tried. In the beginning, when he first became immortal, it's evident in the people that he fell in love with and that he was with, and the fact that he had children. But then you saw that by the time we meet him at Torchwood 3, and it is, with Ianto and all of that, he has kind of kept himself. Now he has a fancy for Gwen, and he definitely has feelings for Ianto, and he loves all of his people, but he keeps them at arm's distance to a certain degree, because he knows he's going to outlive them.
I know that it seems like we're repeating the same loop over and over again, and we are.
Caught in a time loop.
But popular fiction, the things that we see in TV shows and everything else, are fairy tales.
Oh, definitely.
And I think that even if they're not true, which they are not, they are part of us and they become true in the retelling.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay because time doesn't care
Yes.
about your fairy tale. What time cares about is that
Marching forward. It's got to keep doing its thing.
maybe not marching forward, but time flows.
Yes.
Whether it's to wane, to wax, it is eternally moving. It is entropy.
Mm-hmm.
It is always changing. So it cannot simply stay there for you. It has to keep moving on. And our fairy tales are pop fiction or the fairy tales of the past. They all connect us in these visceral ways. Now we're connected to this story.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way out of that.
Yeah.
Because we are now connected. We have entangled ourselves within the story because now we're a part of it.
Oh, yes. Because now we've, whether you are conscious of the things that you learn and you may forget because you're not actively thinking of those things, you have now heard this story and it is now a part of your consciousness and it will,
Right.
and you might hear it again, decades from now or something similar even, whatever. And you'll go, oh, I think I heard something similar to this. Whether you remember the details or not, it's a part of you now.
But time doesn't care about your stories. What
Nope.
it cares about is, are you caught in the tide?
Mm-hmm.
And are we caught in a tide whenever we are hearing these stories? At some point, we may be.
Mm-hmm.
At some point in our lives, we may get caught up into an eddy and not realize it until we're in it.
Yes.
And that, I think, all of these stories have some commonality, even though in this one, the Japanese retelling, which is a modern retelling of an older tale, he has direct contact.
Mm-hmm.
He can change things.
Mm-hmm.
He can talk to people. Whereas in many of these stories, you cannot. There's still a commonality to these stories and the fact that they even exist as an example of time.
Yes.
Or an example of how time isn't how you think it is. It isn't the linear single branch of a river moving forward only.
Mm-hmm.
It is many eddies and many branches of a greater theme. It is a Mobius strip of Mobius strips of a Mobius strip.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is that, once again, I keep going back to Doctor Who. The time has many fixed points, and those fixed points are what keep bringing people back to. Now, I don't know what happened on Bold Street, but Versailles.
Sure. I think
And
it's very
the
accurate
Black
to say there are
Plague.
fixed points.
Yeah, so there's
Fixed points in time are those points in which the eddy there's eddies
yes,
or there's branches.
and there probably the emotional energies were higher. Again, the Black Plague. So you're going to have some higher emotional.
Or perhaps the Black Plague or other things like that happened because the eddy was there.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Because why do certain areas have more natural disasters / bad things happen in around the world? There's certain areas, certain points, and it has nothing to do with population. It's just
It'd be the same reason why when you're near if you go to a tributary and you see a place in which there is an eddy or something like that, what's in that eddy?
oh yeah,
It's always a bunch of trash or sticks and brambles and things like that have collected in that area.
yeah.
Yeah, you're collecting things.
Oh yeah. So your story was very Rip Van Winkle-ish, and so let me just take a step here. So like the time slips in themselves is definitely a fantasy plot device.
Did you get Rip Van Winkle?
I did Rip Van Winkle. Yes.
Okay.
So yeah. So
I just dissed it. I'm sorry.
no. Because
With the story, I just dissed
you didn't. They're very, very similar. No, Rip Van Winkle was a shithead. So yeah, let me delve into this little puddle there. So yeah, the time slip concept itself is a plot device in fan fiction that we see a lot of times, and Doctor Who, he actively travels to these time periods.
Sure.
But you see it a lot in fiction and stories. And basically, it's to accidentally travel through time by an unknown means or a means that is unknown to the person.
Sure.
Okay. So, Rip Van Winkle. He was, so the story was written by our friend Washington Irving. We have met with him a few times on this podcast.
We have.
And is he going to be our patron saint? Our other, on our other podcast.
Is he our Alice?
Alice Hammond is our patron saint over on Cozy Quilt Cinema. I wonder if it's
Accidentally.
Accidentally.
I think Washington Irving should be.
Irving should be our, folkloric patron saint. So he published this in 1819. And basically it is the story of a Dutch-American villager in colonial America who meets a mysterious Dutchman, and shit happens. And actually, so it was inspired by a conversation that he had with his brother-in-law, who was an American expatriate, while he was visiting him in Birmingham, or they were temporarily living in Birmingham, England. So Rip Van Winkle, I wrote basically the basic stuff here because if you know the story, you know the story. And if you don't know the story, he was a lazy man who did not want to do any work in his village or in his home, and his wife got pissed and sent him out. And he took his dog Wolf with him, and they start, he's going out into the woods. He's like, you know what, I'm gonna go away and not deal with the bitch. Okay, so there you go. That's like one of the earliest of my wife is a nitpicking bitch and I need to,
right.
Meh. So he goes out there, and while he's out wandering through the woods in the Catskills, which he wrote when Washington Irving wrote this, not Irving Berlin, which is what I wanted to say. When he wrote this, he'd actually never been to the Catskills, which is funny because he ends up living in the Catskills later on when he's writing things like the Headless Horseman and stuff like that.
It became his muse.
It really was, and he'd never been there before he wrote this, so it's all kind of like hearsay. So he's wandering through the Catskill Mountains, and he comes across the Dutchman. And this Dutchman is wearing very old-fashioned, timey clothing, and he's carrying this giant keg, and he asks Rip to help him. And he's like, sure, well, I'm not doing anything else today. And he helps him to this, like a crevice in the mountains, and you can hear music coming out of it. And when he came up to it, he saw all these other men in there dressed in the same kind of outlandish way. And they're playing nine pins. And he's like, I think I want to hang with these dudes for a while. So he goes in and he's drinking and he's playing nine pins and he's having the time of his life. And eventually, as the drunkie likes to do, he passes out. And when he wakes up, he's not in the cave crevice thingy anymore. He is actually sleeping outside at the tree that he had seen the first Dutchman at. So
back where he was.
Back where he was. Sure. So he notices that his musket that he had with him was rusting and deteriorated. And he can't find his dog Wolf. And his beard had grown a lot. And he was grayer too than he was before. So he's like, I'm not sure what the hell happened here. So he goes back to his village, which is a lot bigger than he remembered as well. And there's people there who he doesn't recognize. And it was a small village and everybody kind of knew who he was at the time. So he's walking around and somebody comes up to him and he's like, so who did you vote for in the election? And he goes, I am a loyal subject of King George III. And they're like, oh, well, that's not cool, man. That's not cool. So they kind of they take him to, the not magistrate, but the head of the town. And then, he hears somebody say his name and he looks over, but they were talking to somebody else. It was a young man. And a girl comes up and she's like, because he's like, that's my name. And this girl comes up and she's like, that was my father's name. And that's my brother's name and my child's name as well. And an older woman comes up and she's like, there used to be a man in our town named Rip Van Winkle. It was their father. And he's like, that was me. And they're like, no, because he disappeared 20 years ago. He finds out that his wife is dead, and he wasn't really bothered by that. And he finds out that the Revolutionary War had taken place. And this was right after the Revolutionary War, and they had just voted Washington into presidency.
Yeah. Okay.
So that was why they all got a little butthurt when he said he was a loyal subject of George III.
Yeah. Dick.
Yeah. So his daughter takes him in.
Didn't you watch Hamilton?
Oh my God. So he, his wife, not his wife, but his daughter takes him in, and he gets to, live off of her and her husband, because again, he is still a lazy shit and learned nothing from this story. But he liked to tell, so he would go around and tell people, whoever would listen, about what he experienced out there in the woods. And what people were saying is that the Dutchmen that he met were actually ghosts of a ship that had crashed. And it was a Dutch ship, obviously, which explains the clothing. And what they say in the story, and again, from what it says is people say this to this day, and I don't know because I'm not from the Catskills, so I can't verify this, but they believe that whenever it's thundering in the Catskills, it is the Dutchman playing ninepins.
I have heard that before.
Yes. So that is the story of Rumpelstiltskin. Not Rumpelstiltskin. You know how many times I'd had to stop myself from saying that?
Genuine laugh of surprise.
I was so shocked I did that. Rip Van Winkle. And how the Dutch pronounce that is, I'm going to mess this up, y'all. Rip Van Winkle.
Yeah.
Winkel.
Sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
So, needless to say, not as happy as your story, even though your story has a sadness to it.
Has some similarities.
Yes.
That time has a cost.
Yes. And I noticed with Washington Irving, if you want to look at The Headless Horseman and you look at this, he really doesn't like his lead characters.
Well, I think what he likes about, or what he writes into them, you know how you purge yourself of things sometimes?
Yes.
I think Washington Irving purged himself of the things that nettled him.
Laziness,
about people.
The sloth, and the with Ichabod Crane, there was a lot of vanity,
hubris,
because he believed that
cowardice.
He had the cowardice, but he also believed that by marrying well, he wouldn't have to work hard, because once again, it goes back to the laziness. He was really into those 7 deadly sins.
I think a lot by but I think, he liked kind of absolving himself by writing the things that nettled him or the things that vexed him.
Yes. No, I
about
agree.
others, and he would kind of clear himself in that way. And I think that's okay. That's probably pretty healthy.
So, I mean, he that was like one of the earliest, I would say, American tales of time slips to a certain degree when it comes to popular culture and stories, fiction.
Well, I've got 16 more.
Well, I have 2, so hurry up.
Actually, I
might not even do the second one, so yeah, there you go.
I've got 2 more, but as we are... Oh, no, I've got 3... I do have 3 more. We're almost on we're going to hit the second hour soon.
Oh, wow.
So let me go over this one. You do one more, and then we'll stop it so that we don't bore people to death. We can always come back to time.
Oh, definitely. No, we have so much more to talk about in this topic. And I think right now, because this is our first year with Folkloric, we are kind of setting basic foundations. So we are going rough, broad strokes with a lot of our stories, so that way we can come back and bring
maybe hit into the deeper dives.
Yes.
Drill down into the precipice and then see that other side and go, oh, that's a cliff.
Oh, shit.
I forgot this was a cliff.
Things live in these mountains.
So let's take a look at a local story. Very local to us.
Okay.
It is called The Silence of the Woods, or The Hunter in the Vanishing Cabin. If you've ever hiked deep into the Blue Ridge or the Smokies, you know the woods are never truly quiet. There's the drone of cicadas, the rustle of squirrels, and the constant overhead creak of the canopy. But every so often, a hiker will report something terrifying: the silence. In an instant, the birds stop singing, the wind dies, and even the sound of your own boots on the leaves seem muffled, like you're walking through a room lined in heavy velvet. In Appalachian folklore, this is the first sign that you've stepped sideways out of our time. One of the most persistent accounts comes from the late 19th century, though it's been echoed by modern hikers for decades. A hunter was tracking a deer through a familiar valley, a place he'd hunted since he was a boy. He crossed a small creek, and suddenly the air turned cold, and the silence hit him. He looked up and saw a cabin he had never seen before. It wasn't a ruin. It was a brand new, freshly cut log cabin, and it had blue smoke curling from the chimney. He saw a woman on the porch wearing clothes from a century prior, churning butter. When he called out to her, she didn't just ignore him, she looked right through him as if he were a ghost in her world. Panicked, he turned back and ran across the creek. When he looked back, the cabin was gone, and in its place stood an oak tree that was at least 200 years old. When he checked his pocket watch, hours had passed in what felt like 5 minutes. Now, those in folklore and mountain people will tell you that Appalachia isn't just a mountain range. It is a geological anchor. That these mountains are so old they predate the existence of bones. And it's true. The theory of Appalachian time slip is built on 3 pillars. Quartz deposits. The high concentration of quartz and iron in the rock is said to create, as we had discussed before, an electromagnetic anomaly that messes with our perception of time. There are also the fairy paths, which, borrowing from Scots Irish ancestors, many locals believe there were thin places where the past, present, and future overlap, touch together.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the missing hours. Common in these stories is the lost time, where a person thinks they've been gone for 20 minutes, but search parties have been looking for them for 3 days. That is a commonality that we have in many of these stories. And in Appalachia's, it is no different.
And it's true. You do hear about that when they find people that have been lost in the trails. And they're like, I didn't think I was gone that long. And then it turns out that they have been gone for days.
Absolutely.
Or they die. We watch way too many YouTube videos about campers who go camping.
Hikers who don't make it.
Yeah, and it's horrifying. I love these mountains, but I am not going out there at night.
I mean, not on purpose.
No, I mean,
I want a threshold between me and the woods.
Yeah, and it's so funny. When we were driving home earlier, I was looking at the woods as we were passing by, and there's some beautiful homes around here. But there's one that I love, and it's set off the road a bit, and it's kind of got this swooping driveway that you can see, but it has got some thick, nasty, gnarly woods that not just are behind it, but they wrap around the whole side of the house and go behind it. And all I could think of is there's a lot of shit that lives up in that mountain. You know that there is, because you can, it's
probably not happy that they put their house there.
No, granted, there is a quarry nearby here, but my God, triangulate our location. No.
Please don't.
Please don't. Well, I don't have so my last story is, again, referring back to the whole fiction aspect of time slips being used as a device in fantasy and sci-fi. We have The Outlander, written by Diana Gabaldon, and it is a book series as well as the Popular Stars TV show. I have not seen past the first season. I think I've seen season 1 and loved it, but I have not seen the rest of it. I kind of need to go back and watch it because Jamie. But it is, she started writing the series in 1991. The recent book, the 9th book, was published in 21. So she's still chucking along with these. But the story basically follows a 20th century British nurse, Claire Randall, and she had just survived as a nurse through World War II. And her husband, I believe he's a professor, because I didn't want to tell the whole story because, again, go watch it, go read the books. I'd like to read the books because I hear they're really fantastic. So he takes her, they go on they haven't seen each other in a long time because of the war. So they decide to take a trip to Inverness in Scotland. And he is also looking into his family background, his ancestry. And they come up onto this circle of stones in the woods. So they're on this vacation, and I remember in one scene she's looking out the window and she sees a man standing in the center of the square near the fountain, and he's kind of dressed in like dark clothing, but you really can't see him. But then he's gone. And so this was, I'm going to go on a little digress before I go into the story again, but Diana Gabaldon, I hope I'm saying her last name right, she was inspired by Doctor Who. She was inspired by Jamie McCrimmon, the character Jamie McCrimmon, who was a Jacobite Scottish gentleman, and he actually is why the protagonist's name is Jamie, because of Jamie McCrimmon. And this character wore a kilt, and it's funny because he was rather pig-headed, and he was full of gallantry, and he was and it's kind of exactly when you meet Jamie in the series, exactly like that. So the actor Fraser Hines, who played Jamie McCrimmon in Doctor Who, actually appears in an episode of the first season of the TV show Outlander, which I thought was a nice little nod. I love when people do stuff like that, because when you're inspired by somebody and then you allow them to be a part of your world, I love that. So again, this is a historical fantasy, and it focuses on Claire, who travels through time to the 18th century. So she finds in the first novel of the Outlander series, which is one of, again, 9 or 10 books, Claire is a former British Army nurse, and her husband's a professor. And they go on this trip, and he is looking into his family, and he finds that his ancestor is a man called Captain Jack Randall. And Claire goes plant gathering in these woods that they're like near, and I think it's called Craignadun, and I'm probably saying that wrong. And she's hearing, and it's a circle of stones, and she's hearing.
Oh, Craignadun.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And she's hearing, Claire is hearing this like buzzing sound. And so she goes to the stones and she like touches them. And next thing you know, she is being attacked by one of her husband's ancestors. Frank's ancestor, Captain Jack Randall, is like attacking her. And before he can really like do anything, the man gets disarmed, and there's a whole clan of Scotsmen there, and they take her back with them. She is not dressed like them. She is dressed like, 1940s, blah, blah, blah. And they take her back, and she is like totally like not sure what's going on, but there's a man there named Jamie Fraser, and he has got a dislocated arm, and she goes to help him and finds out that this is the Clan Mackenzie. And like I said, they kind of keep her there. She's English because she has a very British accent, and they're very Scottish. and they call her something. I'm not going to try to pronounce it because I can't, and it's been years since I've watched the show, but it is a name that they gave British women, as, you know, she's not one of them.
Right.
But basically, it's a love story, and she does find her way back home eventually, and there's a lot of back and forth between time, and that's why I haven't watched it in so long. But you see that this is the commonality is the woods, the thinning of time. The man who was standing in the street was Jamie. In his future, not the Jamie she meets in the beginning. This is later on Jamie, because she ends up coming back to her time, and he somehow is watching her he comes to her time too, but then disappears. Again, it's her balancing this broken relationship that she has with her actual husband, and how things are not the way she planned them to be, and the war and everything else, and there's a lot of PTSD, and now she's back in time with this man, and it is also PTSD, and there is also war, because it is, I believe this is the pre-uniting of or maybe it was the beginning of the uniting of the Scottish tribes, or the clans, not tribes, but again, the Jacobites, and there's so much history going on, but there's also this beautiful love story that, you know, these two people from literally different worlds and how they like get together. And it's just, I love what I saw. I really wish I had kept with it, but again, I can't.
Is it a throuple? Because there's a husband involved.
I don't remember how she deals with the actual, because again, you know, they're like hundreds of years apart. So what do they have to know about each other? No, it's when it's complicated.
So when in Vegas?
No, it's complicated when she gets pregnant by past husband, but is back with future husband. That's when it gets really weird.
Yeah,
it's good, but again, you have to. It sounds complicated. It's really not. If you watch it linearly, back to linear. But I tend to see things all the time online, and I'm like, I can't know this yet, because I think it ends up like during the Revolution at one point, the American Revolution. So okay. I think when I left off, they were in France. They were on the run, and they were in France somewhere. So yeah, there's that modern using of time slips, but as a device, because there's a lot of time slipping going on.
Sounds like it.
It's like something that takes place in the past is still going into the past, and then
So I won't go into the final two stories because we have run way over, but I do want to mention them. One of them is the Indigenous Australian Dreamtime, which it kind of covers the everyone. Mm-hmm. And I encourage you to look this up. It is probably one of my favorite, and I probably should have led with it. I didn't think we'd run out of time. Honestly, I thought we would not have enough material.
I was afraid we wouldn't either.
This is one of those instances in which this is not about a linear time, nor is it about time travel so much as it is about all things connected. It is past the boundaries of time and space, and it's the everyone. And that when you're talking about the dreaming, you're talking about a culture, and one that has been lived in two time periods at once, over 65,000 years. So it's something to look into. I encourage you to look into this type of time slip, as it were. We also have UFOs. I have that on as well. There are many UFO stories in which time is missing. Mm-hmm. And that is modern American folklore for the most part, but also some Russian folklore. Mm-hmm. And it is interesting to say the least. Try not to get caught up in the conspiracy theory of it all, and just try to look at it as part of a continued retelling of time displacement. Mm-hmm. So that is time slips. We have gone so far in our own time on the podcast.
I know. I have homework to do.
We're at 2 hours now, and I don't want to bog anyone down. We will revisit this in the future. I think that it is worth doing. And I think that there are so many stories that can be talked about. And and related to each other. And if you know of any time slips, perhaps you can contact us, and Michelle's going to tell you how to do that.
So this has been Folkloric. If you like what you heard, and you have a tale or two to share, not just about today's topic, but any odd or scary story that you'd like to hear us talk about, send us an email at folkloricpod@gmail.com. Or join us on Instagram and Blue Sky at Folkloric Podcast. Please make sure to follow and subscribe to Folkloric wherever you listen to podcasts. And check out our other podcast, The Cozy Quilt Cinema.